It was one of those nights when the rain felt endless, when the whole city seemed to move fast, but you just froze. That's exactly where Marcus Bell found himself, a man people once called untouchable. Built an empire from nothing, made his first million before 30, bought buildings most people only dream of stepping inside. But all that meant nothing the moment his phone lit up with an unknown number outside a Manhattan hotel. He thought it was business, another late-night deal. Instead, it was a doctor's voice, steady, clinical, telling him his only daughter, Ava, had been hit by a car and was in critical condition. The words didn't register at first. Marcus just stared at the puddle forming around his $1,000 shoes. By the time his knees buckled and he collapsed onto the soaked pavement, he didn't care about the pain, the ruined suit, the briefcase spilling across the sidewalk. All he saw in his mind was Ava's gap-toothed smile from last week when she lost her first baby tooth, her little giggle echoing through FaceTime. And now, she might not even make it through the night. People passed by umbrellas, tilting away from him as if grief was contagious. No one stopped. That's New York. Everybody minds their business, especially when it's messy. But then, small, bare feet stepped into his collapsed world. He turned his head, and there she was, a little girl, maybe 6 years old, hair plastered to her cheeks, a thin dress clinging to her body like paper. In her hands, crumpled and damp, was a piece of bread. And she asked him the strangest thing. "Are you hungry too?" He couldn't even answer. His chest was caving in, his throat locked tight. But she didn't move, didn't flinch at the sight of a grown man broken in the rain. She just held out that bread, 2 hands trembling. It wasn't pity, it was real. Marcus took it without thinking, whispered, "Thank you." And for the first time all night, something shifted. She told him, "You should go. They're waiting for you." And before he could say anything, she vanished into the storm, leaving him clutching that tiny piece of bread like it was gold. He staggered to his feet, stuffed papers back into his briefcase, and whispered, "I'm coming, Ava." That bread, ridiculous as it seemed, gave him the strength to keep moving. Hours later, he sat in the hospital waiting room watching the sterile walls close in on him. Ava was in surgery. Soon, they told him. Soon could mean anything. His head fell into his hands, and for the first time in years, Marcus prayed. But instead of seeing God, he saw her, the little girl with bare feet, her eyes calm, steady. Seeing him when no one else dared look. He couldn't take it anymore. He left the waiting room, walked the city blocks with no destination until he found her again, curled up beneath a broken awning, shivering, coughing into the night. She looked up when she noticed him. "It's you," she whispered. Marcus crouched beside her, draped his soaked coat over her shoulders. She tried to joke, "You shouldn't be out here either," and he laughed a bitter, broken laugh because she wasn't wrong. "Have you eaten?" he asked. She shrugged. A little. He didn't believe her, but he didn't push. Instead, he said, "Come on, let's get warm." And somehow she followed him into a diner. She sat stiffly in the booth, too used to being invisible. When the food came, pancakes, eggs toast, she stared at the plate like it would disappear if she touched it. Slowly, bite by bite, she ate. And he sat there watching his chest aching at the way a child had to eat, like every bite was a negotiation with fate. When she finished, she picked up the napkin, grabbed his pen, and scribbled something. She slid it across the table, her name in shaky letters. Sophie. And beneath it, 2 stick figures holding hands. One small, one taller. She didn't explain. She didn't need to. Marcus folded the napkin and slipped it into his pocket like it was a contract more valuable than any he'd ever signed. Back at the hospital, Marcus collapsed again into the plastic chair. This time, Sophie followed him in without asking. When the nurse said Ava was still unconscious, his chest cracked open and the sobs came. He didn't even notice Sophie move until her tiny hand slid into his. She didn't say, "It'll be okay." She didn't feed him lies. She just held his hand steady as a stone, reminding him he wasn't alone. "Do you want to talk about her?" Sophie asked. And Marcus did. He told her about Ava, how she loved drawing sea turtles, how she once gave her birthday money to a kid who couldn't afford lunch, how she was funny and stubborn and everything good. Sophie listened, eyes wide, nodding. "She sounds like someone I'd like," she said. And Marcus, through his tears, whispered, "You would." He asked Sophie about her life. She hesitated, then spoke in quiet fragments. Her mom used to sing when she wasn't using. They moved from shelter to shelter. Sometimes she hid under the bed when people came knocking. Eventually she just ran, found food in dumpsters, slept wherever she could. There was no drama in her voice, just facts. And Marcus sat there stunned, realizing how many times he must have walked past kids like her telling himself it wasn't his problem. Tonight, she had been the one to keep him alive. Hours later, a nurse appeared with a new word: hope. Ava had survived surgery. She was unconscious but stable. Marcus staggered down the hall to her room. When her eyes finally flickered open, he dropped to his knees, sobbing, whispering her name. And from the doorway, Sophie stood frozen, unsure if she belonged. Until Ava's eyes drifted toward her, and with a faint smile she whispered, "Who's my friend?" Sophie stepped forward, voice trembling. "I'm Sophie." Ava smiled weakly. "Hi, Sophie." And then, before drifting back to sleep, she whispered something that changed everything. "She can stay." From that day, Sophie never really left. She folded paper cranes at Ava's bedside. Whispered jokes made her laugh when doctors poked and prodded. Every crane was a wish, Sophie said, folded into fragile wings. Soon the window ledge was filled with them, a flock of hope. Ava's strength returned slowly. And every step she took, Sophie was right there, clapping quietly, grinning like a proud sister. The day Ava was discharged, Marcus helped her toward the car. Sophie lingered behind, ready to vanish into the city shadows. But Marcus stopped, crouched to her level. "You planning on disappearing on us?" Sophie shrugged. "Didn't know if I was supposed to stay. You've got your life. She's got her home." Marcus shook his head, eyes wet. "Sophie, you're part of that now if you want to be. Come home with us. Not just tonight for good. Not because I pity you, but because I can't imagine life without you anymore." Her lips trembled. "You're sure?" Marcus nodded. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." And when Ava, leaning against the car door, whispered, "You're coming, right?" Sophie nodded through her tears. "Yeah, if that's okay." Ava smiled. "Good. I wanted you to." That night, when they stepped through the front door of Marcus's home, the mansion no longer felt cold. Marcus bent to one knee, looked at Sophie, and said, "Welcome home." And for the first time, she believed it. But here's the question, the one that lingers long after the story ends. Was it right? Was Marcus selfish for leaning on a child's strength in his darkest hour? Or was it destiny that the girl everyone else ignored became the one who saved him? Was it charity, or was it family, being born in the most unlikely way? You tell me. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever seen kindness in the unlikeliest place, maybe from someone the world dismissed? Do you believe people like Sophie can save us more than all the wealth in the world? Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because these stories only live if we keep them alive together.